Week 7 is upon us, Adam, and the Buffs are getting ready for. It's a short week, obviously. They're getting ready for Stanford, and coming off of a game where obviously Coach Prime, was not happy with the effort. But he walked into his press conference today and said, "I've calmed down a little bit. We're ready to go. We got a new message for the team this week, and it sounds like they've kind of worked through that, and now they need to see it on the field."
Yeah, and he's made a good point that you can learn from wins. And I think that's a process that they can do coming out of that Arizona State game. And so I think that's part of why he's had that tone, was that he didn't want guys getting too excited about a victory over a team that they definitely should have beaten. It's definitely bright here in Boulder these days. This week especially, the pressure is on with Stanford coming in here to really get that momentum going into the bye week, and obviously Travis Hunter having a chance to play this Saturday is so huge. I asked Shedeur Sanders after the Arizona State game, was it just Giovanni Antonio's time? And he made reference to the fact, well, they're double teaming Zay Weaver, and that opens up things. That's part of what Travis Hunter brings when he's on offense, is not always the guy catching the ball, but it trickles down. Then does Zay Weaver become the second priority for the defense, and then maybe Mikey Harrison's open a lot. So that's going to be a huge addition, because we have seen them get out to a lot of slow starts, and it's time for them to stop doing that, obviously.
Yeah, we obviously saw them a couple times find different ways to get Zay Weaver the ball. I mean, they handed it off to him, and he ran for a touchdown. He also returned a punt for the first time this season and went 51 yards with it. So he didn't have a lot of catches of yards, but he still found a way. But you're right, getting Travis Hunter back. What did he say? There's a tremendous chance that Travis Hunter could play this week, and he said he just needs to be in shape. I don't want him to be a liability. I imagine Travis Hunter won't have too much trouble being in shape this week.
No, they say that he's the guy that never gets tired, right?
Yeah.
And so he's got that DNA, that he's got great stamina to begin with. And this is one of those injuries where when you're cleared, you're cleared. And so it really, sometimes when the guy coming back from an ankle injury, you're like, do we really want to test this with a bye week coming up? With Travis Hunter, he's got the green light to go from that injury that he suffered. So I would think that we're going to see a heavy dose of him now. Will it be quite to the percentage that he did in those first 2.5 games? Probably not, right? You probably ease him in a little bit more than that. Right. But, yeah, I certainly expect to see a lot of number 12 out there.
Yeah, speaking of an injury that does take a little while to come back from, Alton McCaskill has the knee that he injured last year, missed the whole season, 2022 with Houston, and we still haven't seen him a whole lot. And I asked Coach about Alton today, and he said, well, we still like him, but he's a guy that he's still trying to get back in the mix there. And he said part of it is that he's part of a talented running back group. Now, you look at the rushing stats; it doesn't show that they're a super talented running back group, but we know there's some other issues involved with that. But he said it's been tough to find carries for those guys. And Alton, certainly we've seen him. I think it was 5 carries at Oregon, 1 another game, and that's about it. So it's been interesting seeing the usage of that running back room.
Yeah, it's like people focus more on expectations. I expect Alton McCaskill to be the lead back, so when he's not the lead back, I'm going to wonder why he's not out there more. Yeah. Instead of looking at what the guy that's in the feature back role is doing in Anthony Hankerson, and I get that he's not a home run threat. Mm-hmm. There was a one-on-one situation in open space, and he faked right into the guy on Saturday, so that's not the strength of his game, but you have a lot of home run hitters on this offense at the receiver position, and you've got obviously one of the top quarterbacks in the country that can connect with those home run hitters. So I like what Anthony Hankerson's brought to the table the last couple weeks. The interior of this O-line is a question mark, and they're not getting a huge push. I shouldn't say a question mark. They've struggled this year. They haven't got enough of a push. Anthony Hankerson is still getting yards as a running back. So I don't know. I don't understand the obsession with getting somebody else in there right now, but long-term, Alton McCaskill has a high ceiling, so I guess that part of it makes sense. I don't think that Hankerson deserved to be taken off the field much right now.
Yeah, I agree with you. To me, it's more of just we know what McCaskill can do, and so and we're seeing the running game still averaging about 80 yards a game. It's like is there other people that could get in there? Still, one of my favorite comments of the season was a couple weeks ago from Coach Prime when he mentioned Hankerson having a breakaway and he goes, "I wish I could have just hit pause and switched out Dylan Edwards so he could get through that." That was still one of my favorite comments. But if you could somehow find that combo of like a Hankerson and Dylan Edwards, that would be probably help this offense. But other guys we talked about, you asked about Carter Stoutmeyer, who got finally got back from injury this last week and was a starter. And Coach Prime said, well, he would have been a starter the last few weeks if he was healthy. And so it sounds like that was probably the preferred guy to replace Travis Hunter in the lineup if he would have been healthy.
Yeah, and so it'll be interesting once Travis comes back. Do they rotate Carter Stoutmire with Omari and Cooper, who had a good game on Saturday? So it's a good problem to have at that position. And it's funny, we talked about people's preseason expectations and the way things pan out. Same thing, Cormani McClain. Everybody keeps asking about him, and he had a rough go at it on Saturday. Going forward, the true freshman cornerback on this football team to pay attention to is Carter Stoutmire, obviously. And he goes so back with all these guys. I mean, they've known him since he was born, Coach Prime, and his position coach, Kevin Mathis, is actually his godfather. So kind of a cool story. Omar Stoutmire I remember him playing safety in the NFL for 11 years, a really good player. And Carter came in with the mindset as a professional, almost like a professional football player mindset as a true freshman. I was blown away by that. And that's not normal. You shouldn't look to every true freshman and expect that, but he and Dylan Edwards have been really professional in the way they've conducted themselves, and he's going to be a future NFL guy based on what we've seen a little bit early on during his time here at Colorado.
Yeah, Coach Prime actually said, I wish all freshmen could be like Carter Stoutmire has been. And I don't know if that's a message. That's probably a compliment to him, but also maybe a message to some other freshmen like, hey, this is how you should act. And so, the Buffs, big game this week. We're going to talk more about it later on this week, but anything else before we wrap up today?
Well, it's interesting. Colorado is 11.5, 12-point favorite, which is the second time this year that they've been a favorite like this. And it seems like some of the attention's being pulled away a little bit from Boulder, but I would imagine if they win that game 5-2 going into the second half of the season, that this is going to be a program that's going to get all the attention we saw early in the season.
Yeah, one last thing. I'm a stat guy, but there's always been a lot of things over the years that they haven't done this blank since Gary Barnett was fired. Well, they've only been 5-2 two other times since Gary Barnett was fired. So since 2006, they've only had two other 5-2 starts. So they have an opportunity to do something that has only been done, a couple times in the last almost 20 years. So this is a big game for them, and people shouldn't discount that as much as Coach Prime might not like the standard they're playing at sometimes. 5-2 would be pretty impressive if they can get through this week.
Yeah, and you're going against a Stanford team that sets up for them to pass for a lot of yards. Their pass defense is awful. Like you said, we'll get into that later in this week. But the good thing is, if you're 5-2 going in the bye week, and you look across the board and you can improve at every spot on this team, that's a good place to be.
It is. We'll be back later on this week to talk more about it.